nanny states gone mad. Should we have the right to abuse our body as we see fit? So here is tonight's big question. Should Britain ban smoking? Is it time to stub out this filthy habit? Well, to debate this, I'm delighted to welcome a world-renowned expert in the treatment of smoking and other addictions. John Dicey is the Global Chief Executive Officer and Senior Therapist of Alan Carr's Easyway worldwide. He himself was an 80-a-day smoker and had tried many times to quit using every method he could find, but nothing worked. In 1997, he attended Alan Carr's famous clinic in London, and to his surprise, he left the clinic a happy non-smoker. He wound up taking over the management of the business after Alan's sad death, and he personally went on to treat in excess of 30,000 people. He is the co-author with Alan Carr of various books on addiction, which have sold millions of copies worldwide, all branded as Easyway. And I'm delighted to say John Dicey joins me now. Hi, John.
Hi, Mark.
John, we all know what a struggle it is to get off the cigarettes, although you've invented the Easyway, which I can highly recommend from personal experience. But wouldn't the best way to get people off cigarettes be to ban them?
Yeah, I can't take credit for the method. That's all down to the great Alan Carr. But yeah, certainly he would be most disappointed with the idea of banning smokers, just because smokers are pushed around and bullied so much and have been for so long. We've always felt it's much better to provide effective ways of helping smokers to stop rather than to browbeat them and bully them, basically.
Well, that's right. So you kind of like to have a consensual approach to people quitting smoking. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, I think it's it doesn't sound sort of very illiberal, the idea of banning people from a certain age from buying cigarettes. And it might seem unusual to have somebody who helps people quit smoking be less than supportive of the idea. But it really is. It's a bit of I think it's a real turn off for smokers. I think youngsters are putting up with enough after the last couple of years throughout the pandemic and dealing with housing problems in the UK and what have you. Just seems another sort of a strange sort of almost attack on them rather than just focusing on helping them to quit and preventing them from starting, which obviously is the idea of this age ban. But I just don't see quite how effective that's going to be, given that all sorts of drugs are banned, but it doesn't stop youngsters getting hold of them.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the issue. Isn't access the point, that if you make it harder for people to get hold of cigarettes, they're less likely to smoke them?
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to be particularly hard for people to sort of beat the ban. I think it's sort of almost throwing down a challenge to them. And pretty much anywhere in the UK, you can get your hands on cocaine, cannabis, ketamine, whatever you want, fairly easily, regardless of what age you are. So I don't quite see how practical this is.
So how is it that you help people to quit smoking? What is the process, John?
Well, really, rather than sort of focus on telling smokers that it's killing them, costing them a fortune, controlling their lives, smokers know that already. They don't need to be sort of told that. We look at the other side of the argument and say, well, why do we continue to smoke in spite of these tremendous disadvantages? So we analyse every possible reason or justification a smoker might have for carrying on smoking, analyse each of them with the smoker, and actually have them realise that they've been fooled into thinking that smoking gives them all these different sort of benefits and elements of pleasure. They're based on misconceptions and fake beliefs in what smoking can do for you. Once you understand that actually you've been fooled into doing something with faulty information, you don't need willpower to stop doing it anymore. You just realise you're free and stub out your final cigarette and away you go.
So what is unique about the Easyway approach? What is the psychology that you adopt to help people get off the cigarettes, but also sugar, smartphone, gambling and vaping, all of which you've written books about?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing we ask people to do is just carry on smoking. Don't try to stop until you understand how to do it. And it takes about 5 or 6 hours for smoker or any addict of any sort, really, to take on board the method, which is very simple. As I say, just looks at all the arguments for smoking and dispels them, and gently leads smoker to the conclusion that actually there really is no point in doing this, and that they'd actually be much, much happier being free from it. So it's really, we're not trying to scare smokers out of stopping. There's no sort of shock treatment or anything like that. It really is a case of sort of looking at it logically, realizing you're not actually getting anything out of it, understanding why you think you do get something out of it, and then the compulsion to smoke goes.
So would banning cigarettes or criminalising them, would it actually be counterproductive? Might it make cigarettes even more attractive for those rebellious people out there?
Yeah, almost certainly. Certainly, the younger people are, the more attractive it might appear to be when it's banned. And I say prohibition has never really worked in most places that it's been tried. And existing sort of drug use in this country sort of indicates the same. We have a cocaine epidemic across the UK, and no sort of legal action affected towards that seems to be having an impact on that. So really what we're looking at is education. Alan Carr's Easyway is a drug-free method of treating an addiction. I think that's really important. We've just been helped.
I've got to say that I read the Alan Carr smoking book. Miraculous. You read the book, you don't look at a cigarette ever again. Remarkable. Obviously, I will say, if you're having trouble with any addiction, speak to your GP first. That's the best port of call. But from personal anecdotal experience, the Alan Carr Easyway method is fantastic. It's very positive. It's very, very simple. And it has worked for millions of people around the world, hasn't it?
Yes, 50 million people and counting. So it's made out of 3 different elements, really, that you can use: a book, online video programs, or live group seminars. And we're just in the process, so it'll be about a year into the process of helping the World Health Organization to assist with their smoking campaigns in places like sort of Suriname, East Timor, the Philippines. We're still sort of pushing with the Department of Health to have us help people in East Fife and Feltham rather than just East Timor and the Philippines.
Well, your website is alancarr.com, A-L-L-E-N, Carr, alancarr.com. That is the addiction guru, not the stand-up comedian. Let's bring my panel into this, if I can. Nikki Hodgson, Ingrid Tarrant and Andre Walker. Ingrid, do you think we should ban cigarettes?
Oh, God. I smoke.
Whoops.
I know, whoops. Oh, gosh. Yes, I suppose in one sense. When my children, you see, it's like, do as I do, not as I, no, do as I say, not as I do. I said to my children, and I didn't want them to smoke. Well, 2 of them do, but not very much. And I just said, I wish that you hadn't started. That's all. So if we could prevent, the people from smoking in the first place, that would be a better thing. Banning smoking for the people who already are, me, that's an altogether different thing. I would like to give up, but I think you have to really, really want to. And I don't really want to. I'm not a heavy smoker. I'm not an 80-a-day smoker or anything like that. So, and I actually do enjoy it. And I know what John's saying is like, what are you getting out of it? Well, I am getting something out of it, and I don't know quite what, but I actually So yeah, for the children that going forward, I would prefer that they never took it up in the first place, because it is addictive.
Well, Ingrid, I'm sure that John can sort you out with a discount
when
you're ready to see him. John, what about this Danish idea, which is simply to make it unavailable to anyone born after 2010? Isn't that a clever solution, which is the people who are not hooked aren't able to have cigarettes? Surely that's an idea.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a good idea on sort of principle, but I just think, as I say, prohibition tends not to work wherever it's tried, and doesn't work with sort of existing drugs in the UK as it is. So it sounds good, like a good idea. Price rises are another way that people use the authorities use to try and control smoking. I think in Australia, cigarettes are £20 a packet at the moment. So I should imagine we're going that way as well. Although I think a couple of weeks ago there was proposal that maybe there'd be a price cap on cigarettes, which would actually reduce the amount of profits the tobacco industry would make from a sale of cigarettes, which might be another way of doing it. So lots of interesting ideas coming out, but I think education is the way to prevent youngsters falling into addiction. I think once someone understands the nature of addiction, they're less sort of vulnerable to it. So education rather than prohibition is probably where I'd go, and providing that sort of access to effective ways of stopping smoking.
Here's an email for you, Andre Walker, and it's from Caroline, who says, "Dear Mark, yes, we should ban smoking as it causes heart disease, cancer and emphysema. I've known heavy smokers who have died from all of these diseases, and one woman I knew had such bad emphysema, she relied on oxygen 24/7. That doesn't sound like something that should be available over the counter.
No, my mother was a classic example. The average woman dies at 83. The average smoker dies 10 years earlier. She died at 73. I, too, gave up with the Alan Carr method. And hello to Mark Keane from Lancashire, I'm sure is watching. I don't understand.
Can he help you with your other addictions, by the way?
Hey, we can't talk about that on air, Mark.
Kebabs.
No.
Red wine. Big Macs. Quarter pounder with cheese. Pringles.
But of course, what Alan Carr really said was this: there are two addictions, aren't there? There's the societal addiction that says that smoking is absolutely fantastic, and there's a minor physical addiction. I've not read the book on how that applies to heroin, but I'm sure John has found a way to get it round. But I think the fundamental point is this. There will always be a drug of choice for people. Cigarettes are particularly dangerous, but I worry now about things like skunk, as an example, which has a huge effect on mental health and is obviously very concentrated because it's brought into the country. But similarly, when I smoked age 12, my mum could smell it on me. There's all sorts of vapes now that you can ingest all sorts of stuff. I think people will always have an addiction, but I think smoking is particularly bad. I personally wouldn't ban it because I really think it's out the door anyway.
What do you think about this, Nikki? Does it seem like a bit of a heavy-handed policy, just banning the stuff?
Yeah, it does to me. It seems illiberal, actually. And even though it is harmful, terribly harmful for people and very pernicious, but I agree with John. I would go the way of just putting the price up, double the price, triple the price, and then use some of those profits to take care of people, educate and help people stop.
But can I just say this, because I think it is. Look, I'm just going to be an evangelist for Alan Carr for a second, because I think it is important.
Please don't sing.
Alan Carr's fundamental point is smoking is crap. Right? If you stop smoking for a week, you will no longer be physically addicted. These people who go, I gave up smoking 100 years ago, and that's rubbish. It's physically not possible. What happens is, the condemned man, what is the last thing you want? Nice girl, pint of lager, a cigarette. We've just got to get out the idea that it's any good.
I think that's a very good
price. Can I just say something with the price? They say
hurry up, because I think you're going to have a cigarette. You're going for a fag break.
The richest are likely to hit the target if the price is going up by 2025, but the poorest in 2040. The poorest will still pay the money, but they'll be the worst.
Cigarettes have never been for the rich; they've been for the poor.
And therefore the price, so they'll suffer even more. So there'll be less food on the table.
I think that's a really fair point, Ingrid. It's important to understand the impact of any policy. John, let me finish with a couple of emails. This from Jane. Thanks for your email, Jane. Jane says, "Hi, Mark. I'm fed up of being told to stop smoking. If I do quit, it will be in my own time. The government makes a lot of money from cigarettes, so they need to stop going on about it. Great show as always." How about this from Stephen? "Don't ban smoking. Raise more taxes through it. If smoking was banned, who would pay the taxes?" What about that, John?
Let's find a way.
Well, it's about £10 billion a year, I think, in tax gathered through nicotine. That'll probably be replaced eventually by nicotine taxes on vaping and that kind of thing, which is very much on the rise. But yeah, it's a real issue in terms of how do we get through to people that the lady you mentioned is really fed up of being hounded. And I think that really for her, the idea is absolutely right. You can stop smoking in spite of the pressure being put on you, not because of it. And actually, it's a great incentive, actually, to think. I think it's 80 to 90% of the money you pay for cigarettes goes to the government in tax. And who wants to pay more taxes?
And on that note, we can definitely agree. What a treat to have you on the show, John. John Dicey is behind the Alan Carr Easyway method. To find out more, just go to alancarr.com or you can check out their books. There are weight loss books, Easy Way to Quit Smoking, Control Alcohol, Emotional Eating, Smartphone Addiction, and much, much more. John, let's catch up soon. Great to see you on the show after all these months. Fascinating conversation. We will return to your emails about that. Don't forget, it is Selfie Sunday, so send in your selfies. I want to get to know you better. I want to see you. So, mark@gbnews.uk. Lots of pictures piling up on the system. Very excited about my Mark Meets guest tonight. We're going to speak to a top US entrepreneur and author who's written a book in defense of wealth. But is it morally wrong to be rich? We'll discuss that after 10. But next in the news agenda, do we need a fourth jab? See you shortly.